Hello, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Introspective Life Works. Today I am going to share with you a ghost story. This happened to me in my early 20s, and I believed in ghosts, but I was not completely open to ghosts. And as I go through the story, you'll understand more why. And I believe this is why not everyone can see ghosts. So, to start out, I was in my 20s. I was living in an apartment, an old Victorian house that had been made into, I think, 4 or 5 apartments. I actually had the bigger apartment of all the apartments. And I was living there with my future husband, and my sister was living with us, and I had a daughter that was about 2 years old. And we were living there, and we started to experience paranormal activity. When I first moved in there, my landlord told me that the people that lived there before were on drugs, because they would call him all hours of the night saying things were banging around in the house, lights were flashing. He'd have to come over there and then everything would be fine. So when we started to experience things in this apartment, I decided, nope, not going to tell him nothing. I don't want to be labeled a drug addict. And it began with little things like you would hear somebody upstairs rocking. And at that time, we knew that no tenants were living in that apartment. I would have doors slamming. I would have the cupboard doors in the kitchen open. I came home one day, and my sister had told me that the blow dryer had started to spark in her hand and burned holes in her shirt, and I didn't know what to think about that. I kind of thought there was something not normal, that it wasn't all together with a malfunction in the blow dryer, because even though I wasn't open to my psychic gifts, I was able to sense there was a feminine energy there that was not of goodwill. And whenever my fiance, husband to be would take a shower together, all the lights would go out in the apartment, and he would have to go out on a cold porch that was enclosed and have to reset all the breakers. And then every morning when I woke up in the morning, the light would be flashing on my clock like somebody had unplugged it and plugged it back in. And I'm just very grateful that I wake up at the same time every morning, so I didn't really have to rely on that. And there was just different things, you've just felt like there was something not right in this place. So I went to work one day, and there was a woman. I live in the Midwest, and there was a woman working with me that had come from the East Coast, and I found her fascinating to talk to. And we started talking about what I was going through in this apartment building, or old Victorian home. And I told her all the things that we'd been going through. And she said, my mom has a friend back east that is a parapsychologist. Let me get the number from my mom and call her and see what we need to do. So she got the number, called the lady, and the lady recommended that we do an experiment. And to this day, I've never ever heard of this being done. This was something just completely out of the normal, never heard of it before. So she came to my apartment one night. We each had a white candle and a candle holder, and the parapsychologist had told her if there was a spirit present, the candle flame would not flicker up and down. It would spin, and that was how we would know there was a spirit. So we went in each and every room, and it would flicker for a little bit. We were each holding a candle, and then it would start spinning. Well, then we ended up in my bedroom, and we were both sitting on the side of the bed, looking at each other, watching our candles, and they started to flicker, and then they really started to spin more than they had in the other rooms. And at that moment, we both felt like a cold electrical thing passed through both of us and made our hair stand up on our necks and our arms. And it was just so cold and electrical feeling. I never ever felt nothing like that before, and to this day I've never felt nothing of that strength as I did at that moment. So we kind of got freaked out, and we blew our candles out, and she left, and I was kind of scared to go to sleep that night. And then the next day she told me she had reported this all back to the parapsychologist when she got home that night, and that I had told her that I had decided that I was going to move out because the landlord had control over our heat. He paid for the heat. So he had put a cover over the thermostat, and I didn't really mind because where I worked was cold, so it didn't really bother me if my apartment was chilly. But he wanted it at a certain temperature at all times, so he put this locked case over it, and he would come over every day and yell at me when I'd come home from work and say, "How did you turn the heat up?" And I would say, "I didn't turn the heat up. I've been at work all day." And he would say, "Well, the other tenants said it's really, really hot in there, so I need to go in there and see what the thermostat was set at." So he'd come in, unlock it, it'd be set at 85. And I was like, "I don't know what to tell you because I don't have a key and I'm not touching it. You can bring the police here and have it fingerprinted, do whatever you want, but I am not touching it. I am at work all day." And by that time, my sister had already moved out. So then that was like my deciding factor with all the activity we were going through and everything. And then what the candles showed us, there was something there, and I just wanted to get out of there. So my partner, my fiance, and I decided to move, and I give my notice. And my friend at work, she said she had talked to this parapsychologist and that we needed to take pictures. And back then, this was the late 80s, early 90s, we had cameras that you'd put film in and you take pictures, and then you'd have to take it out and develop it at a place that developed it. So she gave me her camera, and the last day I had everything packed up. I just had a few boxes to move out, and there was like 2 boxes left in the kitchen, and all of a sudden the kitchen doors on the cupboard start opening and shutting and banging, and it scared me really bad because I felt that energy again. So I grabbed one box, ran out on the big front porch, and sat out there on the steps waiting for my partner or fiance to come and pick me up. And he finally showed up, and I was shaking. I was very terrified at that moment. I didn't know what we were dealing with. Didn't know if it was demonic. Didn't know what it was. So we went back into the apartment. He grabbed the box. Everything was quiet. And I remembered the camera. So I pulled it out of my purse and I started snapping pictures in every room. And then we were headed out the door, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm going to run over to the door that's the entry to the other apartments and just take pictures of that hallway. I just feel like I need to do that." So I did that. Then we got in the car, and I was so glad to get out of that place. And it was goodbye, good riddance. I don't want to ever step foot in that place again. We got moved into our new place, and then I was at work one day at lunch, and my friend came and she said, "Hey, I got the pictures developed. Now take a look at this. You're not going to believe what's in the pictures." So I took a look at the pictures and I said, "What? I don't see nothing. There is nothing there to see." And she's like, "Really, Pam? You don't see nothing?" And I said, "Nope, I don't see nothing." And she said, "Okay, look at it now." And she took her finger and she outlined the ghost. And then I was like, wow, there is something there. There is. And it was the picture where I opened up the entryway to the apartments and snapped it. And there was a staircase, and the door was open to go up the staircase. And the door had like frosted glass in it. And she was headed up the staircase, but had turned around and come back when I opened the door. And the look on her face was like, what the hell now is going on? And I got the picture of her, and she looked very angry. She was an older woman, I would say in her 80s. She had her hair pulled back in a bun. It was gray. She had a calico flowered, I would call like a pioneer style dress on, with a shawl that was gray over it. And just her look on her face was a very, very unhappy, grouchy old woman. And then in the other photos, we would see that she was trying to escape the camera. So she knew what a camera was. And we would catch the backs of her body going through the wall. And then in the living room, there was one of those old plastic blinds that you would pull down, not like our mini blinds like the ones behind me in my window, but these were the old solid plastic blinds. And even though I took the picture, I did not realize this. Her skirt was hanging out of the bottom of the blind, and the blind was sticking out like there was a body hiding behind it on the photo. So my friend took the photos and sent them to the parapsychologist, and then shortly after that, my friend moved away, and I never got even the negatives of those pictures. And I would love to have those pictures today, because they were very, very, it opened my mind. I had no idea. My friend told me, your mind will only see what you want to see. And she said, now it's open. So now you're going to see more in life than what you were going to before this experience. So this is where I want to tell you, you know, open your mind if you want to see things, and maybe go on to videos that show ghosts, that where they outline them, and that will kind of train you to look for the mystical, unnormal types of things in our world. Well, after that, I didn't want to have anything to do with that place. And I was working with another lady at work, and her mother-in-law had moved into the place, and she reported to her daughter-in-law that it was a very, very haunted place, and she only lived there a few months and moved away. And then several years went by, and we went back to that town, my family and I. We were going to a celebration there, and I drove by that street where that house was, and it had been completely destroyed. There was nothing there but a empty lot, but you will never catch me going near that lot. I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want that spirit to ever find me. She was not a very good spirit, very unhappy, and I don't want to deal with something like that. So I hope you got a kick out of this ghost story. And in the future, I'm thinking about building another channel. I want to extend to the herbal healing and what I've done after my cancer treatment to keep myself cancer free and to actually be cured of the kind of cancer I had. So this channel is more focused on the paranormal, the metaphysical, the spiritual. So I'm thinking about creating this other channel to just focus on health and well-being. And if I do this in the future, I will certainly let you know. So thank you for viewing my video. Go in peace, and may the universe always have your back. Bye. I closed out that video and realized I had forgot to tell you one more thing, because my cat started messing with the curtain behind me and distracted me. So the one thing I want to add is, and I will probably clip it into the normal or the regular video, is that after my friend and I got the photographs and everything, we did do an investigation, and we did find out that an elderly lady had passed away in that home, and that it was in the winter time. The heater was on high, and nobody found her body between 2 to 3 weeks. So she was very decomposed by the time they found her body. So I just wanted to add that, because that kind of tied together some of the things that were going on with the heat. So I do believe that spirit or ghost, earthbound ghost spirit, was messing with the heat. And I hope she found her way to the other side and she's at rest now, because she doesn't need to continue haunting a barren spot. Thank you for viewing this video. I hope you enjoyed this little ghost story of mine. It was quite an experience. So go in peace, love, and light. May the universe always have your back. Bye.